Good afternoon. We're going to call this informal session of the Portage County Board of Commissioners, October 26, 2 p.m. agenda. Portage County Board of Commissioners will hold a special session in addition to the regular scheduled meeting. Thursday, October 26, beginning at 2 p.m. And this board is going to be, the purpose is discussing the future of Hills Pond Dam, also known as Pretty Glen Dam, located in Suffield Township, including improvements plans related to the Hills Pond Dam area. Call this meeting to order. Sir, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean Arden. I'm with the firm EMH&T. I'm a consultant. I've been working with Portage County for a number of years now on the Hills Pond Dam project. Appreciate you all coming out here this afternoon. As Commissioner mentioned, the purpose of this meeting is to give an update to the residents in the Spring Valley neighborhood as to the long-term plans for the Hills Pond Dam. Just a quick show of hands, we last did a meeting for the residents back in around 2016. Are you folks all in attendance that meeting? Okay, great. I was there too, and appreciate your attendance from that meeting. We've received a lot of good feedback from the residents as far as your concerns for the long-term use of the dam as well as the pond. And frankly, since that time, we've factored those concerns into design. I'm optimistic we've met your concerns and changed the plan accordingly, so I'm going to walk through that today. Okay.
Hang on. There you go. You should have control of it now. Try that. There we go.
There.
Okay, there we go. So what we'll talk through, we'll give a brief background of the dam and its current regulations under the state of Ohio. We'll talk through our updated plan for addressing regulations and then talk about next steps with the project.
Yeah.
So this slide shows a photo of the dam looking upstream from State Route 532. You have the concrete principal spillway structure in the middle with wooden flashboards or stop logs that are establishing the current level in the pond. And then the embankment actually extends on both sides of the principal spillway. I believe it's about 350 feet, plus or minus, in total length. So that's your earth and embankment there. The dam is regulated by the state of Ohio through the Department of Natural Resources Dam Safety Program. They have established a hazard rating, a Class 2 hazard rating for the dam, based primarily on the presence of State Route 532 downstream of the site. It's a concern if there ever was a failure at the dam, the state route could be in jeopardy, and that's what set the hazard rating. Based on the hazard rating, state statute sets standards for how large the spillways need to be on a dam. So the current dam does not have adequate spillway capacity to meet its Class 2 rating. So that was when we were first brought in to work with the county to look at the sizing of the spillways and options for potentially addressing the ODNR compliance concerns. Kind of a odd discussion item here. The dam is actually in Summit County, although it's owned by Portage County, so we have cross-county line coordination here for the project. And the permanent pool that is created by the dam actually goes on multiple parcels. The county owns part of the land that is inundated by the dam. The Tested Development Group actually owns the majority of the land. And then there are a few, I think 4 or 5 property owners within the residential subdivision that also have some ownership rights.
In the city of Akron.
And the city of Akron upstream by Norton Road.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned we've changed the concept from 2016, trying to address some of the concerns that were raised by the various stakeholders. So what we're looking at now is a two-phase approach. The red polygon on the screen, that is the county's property limits. At the upstream end of the property, we're looking at constructing a rock barrier across the lake. The purpose of that barrier is that when water levels are lowered downstream to address the existing dam site, this barrier would maintain the existing water level upstream along all of the residences. So we call these a rock barrier or a rock grade control structure. The theory is that obviously rocks are permeable, but you can build these structures with an impervious core that would not allow the water to pass through the structure. It basically acts as a mini dam. I use that word very cautiously. It's not gonna be regulated by the state. It's not a large impounding structure, but it's gonna function very similarly. So this structure, again, built on the county property, would maintain the existing pool upstream adjacent to the residential subdivision. After that is constructed, phase 2 would be modification of the existing Hills Pond Dam. That project would involve removal of the flashboards, which would lower the water level between the two sites, and then construction of a rock line spillway to allow some additional stormwater runoff to pass through the embankment. Each of these structures would not be large enough to be regulated by the state of Ohio as a dam. So this new structure would not be regulated. The existing structure would no longer be regulated after both were constructed.
And why is that? Why would they no longer be under the
So,
purview of
the state of
state?
Ohio sets, there's 3 different criteria for when an embankment would become regulated by the state as a dam. It's either, the embankment is either, I'm gonna reverse this. There's 3 ways where an embankment would not be regulated by a state. It's easier to explain this way. Either the embankment is less than 6 feet in height, regardless of how much volume is stored behind it. It is less than 10 feet in height and stores less than 50 acre-feet of volume. Or it stores less than 15 acre-feet of volume. An acre-foot is, imagine 1 acre of land, 1 foot tall, feet of volume. Less than 15 acre-feet of volume, regardless of the height. Each of these 2 structures will be less than 6 feet in height after they're modified.
So it
Who would
sounds like,
regulate it? If you say the state would who would regulate it?
And nobody.
Nobody?
Nobody. No, it would be a county infrastructure asset. It would still be within the stream corridor, but it would not be regulated as a dam.
sounds like the water level would be dropping.
Downstream of this barrier, yes, it would. It would drop by about 2.5 to 3 feet. This portion of the lake on the county property would convert from a shallow pond into more of a wetland feature.
Right.
The area along the subdivision is gonna stay very close, within 6 inches or so of the current water level.
But lower, because they've already lowered it. So it's already at a level that is unacceptable.
Who has lowered it?
I don't know who actually did it, but the level's been lowered since this issue came up. They took a section of that dam down so that the water level came down. And so now, along my property anyways, it's so low, you can't even reach my dock, you can't even put a boat there.
Can't really launch the canoe in
And it
there.
smells,
I don't
so
think we
it's
have
causing an
anyone
issue.
do anything to it, other than maybe put the boards up, which would,
Yeah,
would
I'm not
do.
aware of
But
any
I
of the
don't-
boards coming out that would lower it.
Yeah,
Well, I know one of the other residents had gone down there to put them back and got in trouble for
Years
doing so,
ago.
years ago, yeah.
Okay.
So, it is an issue.
So our intent with this project is to mimic the existing water level as close as we can. I can't speak to the water level changing, I'm not familiar with that happening, but
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge the comment that you're making, that it has been an issue on your property.
And it's a detriment to the property, so the value of the property then goes down because nobody wants to be by a stinky pond.
I got a question. The rock barrier, is that a permanent fixture? Or
Yes.
does it, okay, so it's after phase 2 is done, it's not removed?
Correct.
Is it there then gonna be above the water line or below?
It will be below, but it actually sets the water line for the upstream section.
Isn't that the next slide that you have?
And thank you, Commissioner. So this zooms in a little bit closer to the rock barrier. You can kind of see how it goes across here at the upstream portion of the property. The next slide gives you a kind of a not to scale but exaggerated graphic of what this would look like. So you have your lake bed here at the bottom, the existing sediment, the existing water level at the site. We're showing the proposed water level is gonna be within 6 inches of the existing water level. But then this rock barrier on the downstream side would have roughly a 10-to-1 slope on it. So it's not gonna be a vertical wall across the dam, or across the lake. It would have a slope to it on the downstream side that the water would cascade as it flows downstream. Very similar to rock ripples that you would see in a natural stream.
So we would no longer be able to take our canoe all the way from one end of that pond to the other.
Not all the way to the dam, you would not, that's
And
right.
that's cutting it like in half, it's already small, so.
So that wall that you're gonna add in there is just beyond your property.
Yeah, it is fully located on the county's property.
Yeah, it is on the counties, but it's actually right below where Pauline's property kind of is. But again, if you drop that another 6 inches, it's really gonna be a problem.
And we could try.
Can't you take that barrier up and make the water level higher?
So we are maxed out at that 6-foot elevation, so it doesn't become regulated by the state. So
That's the
that's our
problem.
threshold.
Yeah, so that's the problem. Hey. But I would also have to add this, the county took ownership of this dam, and they should have been maintaining it, and because of their lack of attention to this dam, it's caused this problem. So it's really the county that is causing the problem, and then the solution here is to not really fix it, it's to appease the state. So that now we don't have to regulate, now we don't have to pay attention to it, because now you're gonna lower the water level, which is still gonna destroy the property values of all those residents up through that other section.
I would take exception to that lowering the water level by 0 to 6 inches.
It's already been lowered though.
Well, I can't speak to that, but lowering it by 6 inches is realistically not going to affect property values. I don't see that.
It's
as
already
realistic.
affected it.
Well, again, I can't speak to what may have happened.
Have you figured out why? I mean,
Well, yeah, because number one, here's my dock, here's the water.
I
you
visualize, I
can't-
got it. Asking how that happened.
Well, I don't know, because we had just recently moved there when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I know that I used to be able to put my boat up to my dock.
Mhm.
Now, it's too low and there's stone and rock below it, so you can't put the boat there. And during the summer, as the heat comes in and the
Mhm.
water levels naturally drop.
Correct.
Now it's dropping so much that it's just earth. There's no water at all, and it smells. So where my septic pours out used to be submerged in water to half of the pipe was submerged.
Mhm.
Now it's completely open, so it just dumps right into mud at the end of my property.
So that has to be upstream.
What do you mean?
So you're here, there's a dam here, and then there's Summit County, correct?
Yeah.
So that's upstream.
Well,
We would be downstream on our
yeah,
property,
because
It
you're
would be
sitting
upstream.
here facing me,
Yeah.
this would be Summit County,
correct?
okay? And then the county's property,
Mhm.
and then the residents start coming in here.
Correct.
And that water level's already been dropped because they lowered the section of this dam, so the water level
Gotcha.
dropped.
So Summit County lowered the dam.
Or I believe Portage County owns the dam. Don't
Yeah,
they own it?
we own
But
the dam.
it's on the other side of the dam, the water's been lowered.
Mm-mm.
The
No.
dam has boards in it that they can remove.
Right, I've been at that end, but it has to be blocked up, like, the water flows that way towards the dam.
Correct.
So it has to be upstream, correct?
It goes from Mogador Reservoir
Correct.
down to the dam.
Correct.
That dam has been lowered, so that the water level dropped. And now you're gonna drop it even another 6 inches.
I'm confused because there's like two boards there, like 2x6s, 2x8s,
I think there's three.
right
Four
there.
now.
I don't know.
It's
You
roughly
know
3
about
feet
it,
of boards.
don't you?
I don't remember how many boards are there, but.
There's 2 or 3
We've
boards
only been
there.
there for 2
Yeah.
years. It was my wife's grandparents' property
That's the girl's
before.
father.
Huh?
Oh.
This is Doug.
Yeah.
Oh, this is William's dam, or
No,
your son.
it's not William.
Wyatt. No.
Bonner was my wife's grandfather.
Oh, okay.
We bought that
Different
house.
family. Okay.
On Bethel.
Anyways,
Okay.
so what I'm saying is that what you're proposing here will take all the pressure off the county, so now you won't have to worry about your dam, you won't have to worry about it, and it'll just sit there kinda like if somebody threw a bunch of rocks into a stream, it would just cascade off of those. Am I correct? It's gonna be a little more
Simplification,
sophisticated,
Sure.
but it still could deteriorate, and no one's gonna be regulating it, so no one will be taking care of it.
The way it's gonna be designed, of course, anything can deteriorate, but we're talking about rocks, we're talking about an engineered structure here, we're looking at the flow rates running across. This structure is gonna be designed to last. It's gonna have an impervious core. What we're showing, what we're showing currently, we're showing steel sheet piling running through the middle of it to hold it in place and hold the elevations. We're gonna look at that as we get into final engineering. But this is not gonna be designed something that's going to wash away in 5 years. That's not the intent.
No, but it's not gonna bring the water level back up, it's gonna take it down. So it's gonna be worse than it is now, by maybe 6 inches.
Maybe 0 to 6 inches. That's what we're looking at.
Well, here's the problem though. What solution do you guys have? Because our other alternative to this is to completely remove the dam. And that's my understanding that that is not your desire. So we have come up with an alternative to it. And
When this initially happened, there was an option to redo the dam at a cost. And then the county found a way that they could get a grant to take care of it, to remove the dam.
yeah, only to remove.
With a grant, instead of putting the money into it to redo the dam, to fix the dam, which they should have been maintaining all along. So that should be your responsibility to restructure the dam, return it to its state, return the pond to its state, and move on, and maintain your dam.
Was that the dam that looked like the Hoover Dam back there with the concrete barrier?
No.
Here's the,
Yeah, it's on his picture.
here's what it looks like.
Yeah, there were a few
Yeah,
slides.
there's a
on-
few slides
on-
in
I was talking about if they would redo it, the last plan I saw.
Oh,
The very concrete
I
structure
mean,
there.
I think it was a problem when it was purchased. It's
Right.
been a problem for, I think, ever since.
Yeah.
And they were prepared for a 100-year
years.
flood with the last rendition I saw a few years ago.
Yeah, I don't know, about that, but it's been a situation for well over 20, 30 years.
Yes. So we still don't know why the water receded
Has dropped.
6 more inches.
Yeah, that I don't know.
We don't get but much information. I mean, we haven't heard from you all for a year,
Mhm.
at least. And haven't had a meeting since 2016.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's going on. We don't know why these things are happening.
So
We
are the
don't-
boards up or down right now?
I'm sorry?
Are the boards
I
up
don't
on the
know.
dam?
I really don't.
Well, I mean, we can't tell you because we're not on the dam and looking at the dam and seeing how it was constructed and all that. To my understanding, there was a section of it that was removed to drop the water level down to make it safer. And why this was all being brought up and being looked at to be,
Yeah, and I don't remember that at all.
I don't know who
And
removed
why
the
we
boards.
would've
well,
done
one of the
that.
residents there went there to replace it, to put it back, and
Well,
was
there's the
reprimanded.
problem.
Who reprimanded it?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
understand. I
To
agree.
whom reprimanded that person?
That I don't know.
Okay. Yes, Dory, go
I
ahead.
have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, this is a totally different proposal than the first one we had when we came in 16 because it was a grandiose, thing that cost $1 million.
Correct.
How much does this cost?
Oh, this is not cheap either.
Yeah.
No, at this point, we're still moving into design. I would say we're over 2 million for this project.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
the
so
first
there's
was only
14
million.
properties that are gonna be benefiting from $2 million being spent, that's a month there. And understand, we do have the option to just remove it, and we can get grant funding. But, so, that's why I'm a little upset when I hear, it's your responsibility. Understand, it's our responsibility, and we can take the road that, the path of least resistance, we just remove the dam, and we get funding for it. This $2 million is coming out of our general fund, and, we're trying to work with you. So, and what we're hearing is it's not gonna be any better, blah, 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 but you guys didn't wanna create an association to help with this.
That wasn't
Testa
suggested.
was not interested.
That was not even suggested.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
never mentioned.
Oh, yes, that was suggested quite a bit, and you guys
No.
supposedly said no.
When?
And so, well, I'm just telling you, that, Michelle can look it up, but yeah, everyone wants to, the benefits from it, but no one wants to pay for it, and yet we're responsible for it, and in my mind, it's not fair to take $2 million of taxpayer dollars from everyone in the county to appease 14 houses along here.
It's not just 14 houses, I can tell you that.
Well, that's what we've been told numerous times, that there's only 14 houses along the
Yeah, but
lake.
a lot of people use it, and there's other people that have a view because of it.
Exactly. But no one wants to pay an association fee or anything to help maintain that view.
We were never offered an association.
Okay, she's gonna pull that up, so maybe you guys just weren't
Probably
aware, but
weren't there
we
yet.
know
Yeah.
we checked with the fuel farm to help with this, because, we think of all people, they'd be interested in making sure the water's there. They were not interested, which was Sunoco. We checked with Testa because they were advertising, waterfront properties. They weren't interested, and supposedly they reached out to the homeowners about doing an association. I mean,
Testa?
No,
No,
not
no,
that.
the folks that live on there that benefit from that dam, but yet don't wanna pay for it.
I don't think Testa owned that.
They own part of it, a large part of it.
Yeah, they
didn't-
do.
How long have you been there now?
We've only been there for like 9 years,
Okay.
almost 9 years.
Yeah, and then Tesla bought that golf course behind
Yeah.
it, so they own a large part of it.
And they're starting to
Almost all.
dig, I was just by there.
They don't.
Oh, yeah, we
They
hear it
cleared it.
every
They got
day.
it
Here, in response to what you're saying to me,
Yeah,
is when did the county take ownership of that dam?
way before my time.
Like in the
Right.
90s, right?
That's the problem, is that then, since then, is there any kind of language in the agreement that they signed, that they agreed to maintain the dam? And did they not do what they were obligated to do?
Chris, you
And
might
so when we-
remember that, but I'm not
look at
thinking,
it.
we own it, we're not gonna sign a maintenance agreement when it's our dam.
If I could say something, a little bit about history, I think the county bought that property in around 87 or 86.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
And it was at the point where the city of Akron was intending to annex
Mm-hmm,
Mogador.
Yep.
And they would have had Village of Mogador for the tax base and Suffolk Township. Because they already, at that time, I think they already had purchased the Mogador Dam property. And that was privately held,
mm-hmm.
the dam, and the county at that time bought it.
Yeah, it was to prevent it.
And I remember that that was always considered a private lake because there's no public access to it. And at that time, there was talk about creating a park and something for the general public to access that lake, but it never materialized.
What's the effects of just removing that dam? To people.
Flooding.
Well, I
For
know
these-
that, but
For these folks, they will lose the lake. It will turn into a stream and a wetland corridor, so their view shed
Mhm.
would be completely different from what they have now. There would also be an impact potentially, Commissioner, you mentioned the fuel farm.
Yeah.
The fire department does have a dry hydrant off Martin Road. They use the water pool for firefighting water supply.
Yes.
And then
But
you-
understanding, we're not just gonna remove the dam and leave it as is. We have to do the vegetation, and just like what they did over in Cuyahoga Falls there by the Sheraton Hotel. They removed that dam, but they had to come in and landscape it, and it's not like we just knock the dam down and there's nothing.
No, but it would be a different amenity and a different view than it is now.
Yeah,
And that was a major concern back in the West.
Well,
And
then
we
it-
would lose the wildlife that we moved there to enjoy too. All the waterfowl and all of the beavers and everything that comes there, the blue herons and that,
There are eagles that live in that whole area up there, so you,
somewhere, we don't know
you're,
where.
well, I know we see them all the time. So,
But I think they were supposed to do an environmental study too, And I didn't hear any more about that, if they did an environmental.
But another
study.
issue is if you remove the dam, what about all the pour off? Cause that is Spring Valley for a reason. There's springs that dump into that. So that stream, you would have to run that stream along those properties, correct? So,
Well, it would be designed, and that would all be taken into consideration with the design of the removal.
I would see this corridor in that situation turning into a linear wetland feature. You would have a stream channel. You'd probably have multiple graded stream channels running through the feature because of the spring condition that you described.
and all the septics that dump into it, cause there's septics that are also dumping into that pond.
Go ahead, please, go ahead.
The location of the rock barrier, how is that determined?
So we went as far upstream as we could, to try to, looking at stream bed elevations, to try to maximize the water level that we would maintain with that 6-foot maximum threshold that we had to work with. So if the barrier was moved downstream, you can also see this is the narrow point in the lake as well. The lake is wider both downstream and upstream to get off of the county's property, so that was a no-go from our evaluation. If you move the barrier downstream, the cost would be greater because the width across the lake is more. And then if you hold the barrier at 6 foot, the top elevation that would set the water level would be lower, so that would be more of an adverse impact to the pool level upstream.
Any other questions at all? I'd be very interested in, I'll drive out there this week and see if those boards are gone, cause that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you can look at it and see if they're up
I mean,
or
they're
down.
just from 532, is that, you can see that, I mean, it's only like 100 feet from the road.
Right.
Yeah, it's very, very close, to that, so why it dropped 6 feet, especially with, or 6 inches, especially with the water that we
He's
have.
talking about the 6 inches.
Our
Well,
design
this,
is
yeah,
6 inches. I'm
well,
not sure.
it's, you're saying that
It's
it's
already
dried up.
down.
It's almost dried up, there's hardly any water there. Cause your dock is up here, the water's down here, your septic is here, and the water's down here.
There's still water there.
Very little, from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, to see how did that happen? And there's, because there, it doesn't appear, when I was there last, there doesn't appear that those boards would take it all the way to the bottom. Cause there's a concrete barrier and then you're putting 2 or 3 boards on top of it.
Right.
I'm not talking about the entire lake. I'm
Your
talking about the
your
shoreline.
backyard, your
I'm talking about
shoreline.
the shoreline.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is that
If they wanted.
the dock is here,
we were willing to
and the
give it to
water
them,
used to be
but they
here,
chose
now
not
it's
to.
down here.
Understood.
And so as summer comes along, it dries up, and that's why my
So-
septic is,
And I'm trying to figure out in my mind how that happened.
We don't know.
but
Have you been down to you haven't been down to the dam, the boarded dam?
not to inspect it, no.
We drive by it, but we can't really tell driving by.
That's the only way that would come down, unless it was naturally, cause we were in a drought or something, is if those boards would have been put up, that would bring it down on your end.
No, that would.
No, they'd bring it up.
Go
Oh,
the
bring it,
other
I'm
way.
boards
sorry,
if
bring
they're
it, if
missing.
it's down,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, if the boards are
That's
missing,
why-
then the water would go down.
That's why we think that the boards were removed, because the water level has gotten so low.
Oh. Michelle has,
So
some
we have no
information.
real way of, you know, it's not constantly monitored, so if someone removed the board, that, you know, that's unfortunate, and we apologize for that. What I can tell you is there was past, conversations about just giving the dam to the, homeowners association. Is that something that you would be interested in taking it over now? Past practice is the homeowners association was not interested in taking over the dam.
Is there homeowners association?
There is no homeowner.
There was an
association.
allotment,
That's
Yeah,
their,
yeah, there was talks of creating.
hang on, well, or an assessment, hang on one minute, let me, it was in June or July of 2016? What was it called?
August.
August
August,
18th.
okay, hang on. Do you know what the allotment was called?
So that might be the
Yeah.
$50 million of.
Yeah.
I don't think
While
that's
Michelle's
gonna
looking
work.
into that, to clarify this 6-inch difference, this is based off of what we're calling the existing water level. When we performed our field surveys, those were in 2015 and 2022, and in both those times, the flashboards were in place. All 3 foot vertical of the flashboards were in place at that point. So that water level should be at the design maximum water level.
Yeah.
If the boards were removed in between those periods or before, and you're talking about a water level that predates 2015, that's information that I don't have.
Having this rock barrier up there, isn't that going to, after time, rise that up, what they're talking about? Isn't it gonna slow down that flow?
I don't see that happening. The width across the lake is about 300 feet, and with the regulation of the discharge at Mogador Reservoir, the flow rate through the Hills Pond is much lower than you would expect for a watershed of this scale. So for a 100-year flood event, the water depth over this barrier would be about 12 inches.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It was the Spring Valley allotment. Are you familiar with that?
Well, that's the allotment that they live in, their houses.
Right,
are
but
in
so
the-
it was offered that we would hand it over to the Spring Valley allotment, would take it over.
Which is the homeowners.
Correct.
Just all the homeowners, not just the.
But that's everyone from the dam, or from the water, all the way to Martin Road. None of those people have any interest in that dam.
Right,
or in
it
that
was voted
pond.
that nobody wanted it, they didn't
But
want to take
that's
it
what you
over.
just said, there's more affected than the 14. You said that a few minutes ago.
Correct.
So all the people that
Correct, but
can
not
walk
that they
through
were
the
gonna
easements,
have to
correct?
take ownership of it and start
Right.
paying for it.
Correct.
Well, sure, no one
So
wants to
maybe-
pay
yeah,
for
yeah.
it. I mean, that's the point we're at.
Yeah.
I think it was a matter of, in lieu of the entire 161,000 residents of Portage County, in lieu of the taxpayers, all taxpayers in Portage County paying for it, it was the allotment. We offered the allotment to take it over, and the overall census was they did not want to take it over. So I don't know, is that something you may want us to revisit? Do you want to take it over?
What would that even look like? I mean, so you're saying that now that dam has to be repaired or replaced or removed, where do you come up with the funds for that from a small little allotment? You're not gonna have access to the funds to do it.
So.
Right, so versus all, I don't want me to.
And again, really, the only people that benefit from that is the 14 houses along there.
Well, I live up on Martin in the corner of Pheasant Run or Pheasant and Martin.
Okay.
Mhm.
My property has access rights to the pond, which is why I'm here. Because I'm still interested, even though I don't live right on.
So how do you access them? Do you go over lands of others to access it?
There-
Where's the access
There's
at?
Have easements,
an
right?
access down near Miss Gross' house
Okay.
that in the original deed,
No, it's at Daniels.
right,
Right.
and it's right there near her house, so at the end of Pheasant where.
So you
we
have pond access, then access privileges to that. So that would include the entire allotment then.
I don't know for everybody, but I do know.
It
for
should.
all.
It
They do,
should.
and
They
and
plan
there should
it.
be
Right.
easements to be able to, people go through the yards
Yeah.
to get to the
Right.
pond.
And it's,
Yeah.
and it's an area, from my understanding, that area is not developed with houses, but there is access there. So, I mean, it still affects everybody in the
Mhm.
Spring Valley
Mhm.
Right,
allotment.
right.
So there's more people that could chip in to
Right,
help with
but
this.
Still, $2 million is a lot.
I'm not sure
And
how many people are aware of that.
I
You,
know.
because
I
you-
didn't know about it.
Yes.
Until we bought it, but we bought it from my wife's grandparents.
Yeah.
Who bought the property in
And they
1986.
probably knew. But-
And
So for all these homeowners that live along there, how many people do you see accessing it besides the households that live along it?
What do you mean by accessing?
Just what I said, how many utilize it?
Nobody, because the pond at the moment is not usable.
But when it was, I mean, I've only been here for 3 years,
I've
and that's
only
what
been
I
here-
was
I've
told,
only been here for
is
2,
that
so-
people would access the dam, there was easements they could walk from the
Yeah.
part of the development through the
So
yards of the people that
Did
live
I
there.
hear them say that you have access on your property there? Is that one of the access?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm hard of hearing.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
Didn't someone say that she had the access?
She lives right on the pond.
Okay.
yeah,
And the access rights that we have is right near her property.
well, it's 3 doors down.
3 doors down, okay.
Yeah, and that family's not here that has, it's the, yeah, I thought they would be here.
Mhm.
But there's a narrow way to get it, but, I don't know if everyone there would want to be paying their part to have something done for the dam.
Right.
You
I
know,
doubt it too.
I know.
Because they're sort of used to, you can get on Martin Road.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Some of the kids have, like, they have an okay from me to get off on mine.
Mhm.
So, I don't think that that's.
You're
gonna
probably
help.
correct.
So here, we just found this in our meetings from before. David Barr said, Spring Valley allotment only covers the property owners, but others have rights on this lake as well. So meaning, it sounds like only the folks that are in that Spring Valley allotment, which, Chris, do you recall on any of this?
You know, that's before my time, I'd have to look.
Yeah, I don't know.
Commissioner, I can maybe speak to this a little
Yeah,
bit.
can you please?
So this topic did come up in the last meeting in 2016. There was a statement that some of the property owners felt they had access rights to the pond. And you're talking about an access easement between some of these parcels from Spring Valley to the rear parcel line. We need to be careful, and I'm not saying you're right or wrong, I don't know. But having an access easement allows you through the easement area, it doesn't necessarily give you rights beyond the property line on the other parcel. And I believe the county did have a title search performed on the parcels that are owned by Testa within the
We
lake,
did.
and those did not show any
Access,
No.
rights to the allotment.
Exactly. So again, back to my
You
original
may have an
statement.
easement, but it doesn't mean you can go across to the lake.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And in the beginning, there was, but, we would leave on a Sunday, go down to Dover, our homes out there, and come back, and everybody that was getting their building, that was just starting to build more, they were all told that they could use our lake. So we would come back, and people would be having a lot of their lawn chairs and their picnic things in our house. They would just, so they took it very, very seriously, and they just thought, well, anybody that's, part of this, you can, and they pick our berries and whatever. But, so that was really,
Something that
an
they took
invention.
pride in and
Yeah.
used.
And it wasn't supposed to be that way, but, it was sort of interesting. But, we never made it anything official, except for that one section that you just pointed out.
So I think
So
we,
it's-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's just that, in the beginning, that was a big deal, and,
Yeah.
I don't think it's much of a deal anymore.
Yeah, and so now, I can tell you, cause I'm the longest serving commissioner on this board, we have kicked this around since 2014-13, okay? The biggest problem was, where was our money coming from for this? Because we had two options, we could either repair the dam, or we could remove the dam. We only could get grant money to remove it, but then we listened to you guys, you did not want it removed. But the repair of it, in order to get it to a reasonable amount, which, by the way, 2 million is not really reasonable to me, but it is what it is, was to sort of meet you guys halfway. You would still be able to access. Now, I don't know why it's down now, because that does not make sense to me, but like I said, the only thing I can think of, we have to go look and see where the boards are.
Right.
But, other than that, I don't know what else would have lowered that water. We haven't had no big droughts, so I don't know. But we had decided, and I think, Tony, correct me, collectively, we decided this is the path that, because we just keep kicking this can down the road. And meanwhile, the cost just continues to go up. And so that's why, if I seem frustrated today, that's why. Because I'm really tired of this. We know what our options are. We agreed to this plan, and that's what we're bringing you into. Because the other option we have, if you don't like this, is to remove it. I'm just going to be honest with you. So you can either meet us halfway and do this. You can pony up some of your money because, like I said, it's hard for me to take $2 million of $162,000 or 162,000 taxpayers and put all this money into this that only serves really 14 households. Okay? And again, you know what? This is long before any of our time on this board that we're stuck dealing with. So we're trying to do the best we can. This is what we came up with, thanks to Sean, that we feel is a halfway point for us to try to do something, but yet not cost us tons of money, because no one's interested in it, but everyone wants to benefit from it. So there's where I have the struggle as well. So,
You know, 532, everybody enjoys driving 532 and looking at the waterfalls. They're always beautiful. And they've always, I mean, when it rains and they're just beautiful. It's beautiful to drive, so it affects anybody that drives by on 532 and sees
And
the
people
beautiful.
fish down there too.
Yeah.
And
But I
that-
mean, the falls is beautiful.
yeah. You better watch, because it's posted too. And let me tell you, the city of Akron will come out after you.
I haven't done
I'm
it,
telling
but
you.
I'm just saying, I can
Yeah.
see from our house that there are people
Right.
fishing down there. How
So,
much does it cost to repair the dam?
So
It's-
the variation, when I first came to office and they were doing this 3 years ago, to me it looked like the Hoover Dam, and it was several
I
million
don't
dollars.
understand that because.
Because you have if you removed it,
Lot.
that whole 350 feet would change, because those are barriers. They weren't supposed to have trees on them. There's trees on them. So the dam is, if you look at it, it's only like 30, 40 feet wide. All that was going to be concrete. And to really, that in my mind, if you look at the Hoover Dam, that was a mini version of the Hoover Dam. That would all be gone,
yep.
and that would be all concrete all the way through in a spillway of concrete that would go right past or under 532.
So it's thanks to
There's
Sean,
millions of dollars.
who has been on this journey from the beginning, that he came up with a semi-alternate solution that we could justify spending $2 million versus multiple millions of dollars, and really justifying 14 households just to be able to utilize the water. So that's why he's here. We pretty much, for the most part, have agreed to this plan. So we need you guys to work with us on this, because it's either this or that dam gets removed. That's where we're at.
I have a question. Where is the original bill of sales, whatever you say, because Portage really benefited by having this, it was the connection that they were trying to.
Keep from
They were
annexation.
Right, so
trying to
that was-
preserve
It
that.
was really,
That was a big deal, so it really was good for Portage. You know, and I don't know anything about that.
Yeah,
I
it
don't-
sounded like it was good for Portage. As soon as they got it, they let goods slide by.
go ahead.
Well,
Yep. Good.
but wouldn't, if you buy something, if you get isn't there a statement somewhere when, okay, this is what we have, so would have seemed as though they had an agreement that we have this dam, we will maintain it, that maybe Portage didn't have enough money for everything else, so you take from what
I could not begin to guess what the thought
Michelle,
was back at that
Michelle,
time.
you have something?
But Michelle's gonna repeat.
If I may just give a little bit of insight on
Yeah.
that. So this is what we learned over the years
Yeah.
in working with this. What I can tell you is at one point, this is just in the minutes and the notes over the years. So at one point, the Water Resources Department had the funding and could accommodate the need, and that, my understanding is that was the original reason for purchasing this dam, was due to the water source. And at some point, it was determined that the Water Resources Department could no longer
Maintain it.
fund,
And maintain
could
it.
no longer fund, due to the fact that the funds could no longer be used by the department, because they were no longer getting a benefit from this dam nor water source, because the EPA became more stringent. Therefore, they apparently changed some type of an EPA regulation, and they could no longer, our local water resources department could no longer utilize that water source. And due to the fact that it's an enterprise fund, they could no longer use water resources funds to maintain that dam. So therefore, it fell back onto the general fund. And the general fund is very limited, right? So our limited use of public tax dollars became very strained.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we
What year are
started
you
looking
reading
into
from?
other things.
What year are you reading from?
So
was-
this knowledge came out in this is a meeting held in 2016. I don't,
The original.
Yeah.
this,
Okay,
yeah.
right.
So I started getting involved in this in like 2006-ish. And I will tell you, we had time after time.
I know.
Where ODNR came in and said, you better do something, you better do something, right? So, and this is, public knowledge, and I can, empathize with you. I feel for you.
But back to water
We just
resources.
can't afford it though, right? And this was originally purchased using water resources funds, and we can no longer use those enterprise funds.
Yeah,
It now
because
comes
they
down
used to go out and lower the boards and raise them up, and they also would go out there and trim the trees.
They maintain.
And we decided that our insurance probably would not like them because that's not their skill, and so they found that.
Well, the EPA changed the regulations, and when they did it, water resources could no longer utilize that water source. And once that happened, due to the fact that it's an enterprise fund, they could no longer go out and use that water source.
Right.
Very limited on what you can use certain enterprise funds for. So it fell back to the general fund, and it will drain the general fund, which is the tax dollars. So
That's how we're looking for a simple, affordable solution. Otherwise, we can get grants all day to remove it. But that's not what we're hearing, so this is sort of our compromise.
And let's add in, this gentleman's time isn't free, so.
Yeah, so you have that look on your face, well, you bought it, it's yours. And that's what I'm seeing from here,
Yeah.
is the problem is the rules were changed on us quarter of the way through.
So where were we that we didn't at that time say? "Okay,
Nobody was
guys."
paying attention because everything was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like if we were all aware of that, okay, get out the wheelbarrows and the cement and whatever, and let's do.
But
let's
ODNR does an inspection, every 2 years or something?
5 years.
Every 5 years,
5 years,
and it's
yeah.
during the last 2 inspections that they said, okay, you gotta do something.
Yeah.
And it was not a simple solution.
Would you?
Okay, is there anything, yes, sir?
I'm back to the rock wall thing again.
Yes,
By his house.
Can that act as a dam?
it is a deal.
Essentially,
is.
it's going to function as a dam.
Why couldn't the dam then be removed and replaced with a rock wall and keep the water level at the same height?
If you're building a dam to the level of the existing water level down at this location, that's a much taller dam. It'd be higher engineered, and then we'd have to follow ODNR regulations, where you'd have to have a concrete spillway structure, size for a similar class 2 ratings. That requires spillways to pass what they call a 50% probable maximum flood event. That's a fancy terminology for roughly pass runoff from 13-inch rainfall events in 24 hours.
Sean, wasn't that like $6 million to build that?
I'm not sure.
There are
when-
pictures around here someplace.
I'm not sure when we looked at that, but
Yeah,
it was
that was years ago.
2016, and whenever it was, obviously, construction costs are much higher today.
Yeah, double, triple.
It's easily more than what we're looking at.
Yes,
for that
okay.
concept.
Now, does your company do this, or do you get bids on this? Is this the only bid that you've ever gotten on this?
Oh, no.
So we're a design firm, we're not
What-
a contractor.
You what?
We're a design firm, we're not a contractor.
So who does the contracting?
It would be publicly bid.
Anything over $50,000 publicly bid.
Good.
And who would be responsible for making sure that the construction company followed the design?
So ODNR will require, at the end of construction, a post-construction visit. They'll come out, take pictures of the site. They'll also require a certification from a professionally licensed engineer such as myself that oversaw construction and can confirm the project was built according to the approved plans. That is an ODNR requirement.
I knew there was a process in place, but I didn't know the exact process.
What was the process about the dam itself? It was on phase 2. Is that going to be, what does that involve?
Sure. I'll actually just work off of this slide here. So what we would need to do to convert the existing dam so it's no longer regulated by the state, the flashboards would come out. Again, the water level is maintained by the rock barrier at this point, that's already constructed. Low flow will still cascade over to concrete structure, so the waterfall that you see now from 532, that will remain. You will still see it. On this northern embankment, adjacent to the concrete structure, there will be a rock-lined auxiliary spillway. So we would need that for additional discharge capacity. And then on the southern side, the trees will be cleared and a portion of the embankment would be lowered to meet that 6-foot maximum height criteria to make the dam exempt from ODNR regulation.
So effectively, there won't be a dam then?
There will be a dam, but it'll look different. As I said, the flashboards will be gone, we'll have a rock line spillway, and this change in the embankment over here is 18 inches. It's not substantial. The difference, the top of the dam to the water level downstream is roughly 7 to 8 feet. So you will still have an embankment at that location and the waterfall effect with the concrete structure.
It just seems like, to me, if this proposed rock wall you're placing is not going to effectively change the existing water level of upstream, why couldn't it be placed where the dam's at?
As I said,
Because the
ODNR
water level is water. It's
right. The top would be the same, but we're downstream, so the stream bed is at a lower elevation here, so that height of the wall is higher than 6 feet. So that sets different
Is that
design
based on
standards.
this 15 study or what?
That's based on surveys performed out at the project site back in 2015 as well as in 2022.
Is there anything else?
Can we have copies of this?
Sure, I guess.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You can make copies of it. Okay.
Does everyone want a copy?
Yep. Does everybody want a copy?
Yes.
So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can you get 7 of them, 8 of them, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna adjourn this meeting. Thank you, Sean, for there. Thank you guys for coming out. I know it's frustrating because it's not what you wanted to hear,
Well,
but
it's a very productive meeting, I think.
good.
Thank you.
Excellent. Good. It was to be very informative. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank
All
you.
right.
I'll second that adjournment.
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.